multi-step equations. We're really just going to add kind of 2 steps, and then it's the exact same thing we did yesterday. So, for multi-step equations, so I have 3 steps here. Sometimes you may only have to do steps 1 and 3. You may not have to do step 2. Sometimes you may just have to do steps 2 and 3. You may not have to do step 1. Okay? And then sometimes you're going to have to do all 3 steps. So, we're going to see these same steps when we come back on Tuesday. These same steps with 1 extra addition whenever we talk about equations with variables on both sides. So, our steps for solving multi-step equations. First thing, if there's anything to distribute, usually that's the first thing that we want to do. After we distribute, guys, and this is so important, you want to combine like terms, if you can, okay? Because usually, if you distribute and then combine like terms, almost all of the time you are then going to have a 2-step equation, which is exactly what we did yesterday, okay? So let's try one of these down here. So let's say we have 2 times the quantity 5x minus 6 minus 3x equals 16. Okay, now, just like the last couple of days, I really like to take that equal sign and drag it straight down, guys, and I'm telling you, especially since the equations are getting a little bit tougher, I really think that's going to be helpful, just to kind of keep ourselves accountable. If there's something that I do on the left side of the line, I need to do the exact same thing on the right side of the line. Okay? Step 1, if there's anything to distribute, you need to distribute it. How you know you have something to distribute? Usually parentheses, right? So, 2 times the quantity, 5x minus 6, you're going to distribute the 2. Now, remember, when we distribute, we are multiplying. So, 2 times 5x is 10x. 2 times minus 6 is a minus 12. Now, we're not going to distribute the 2 to the minus 3x because it's not in parentheses. So, that's just going to stay a minus 3x equals 16. Hey, after you distribute, get in the habit. Anytime you distribute, a lot of times what that's going to do is it's going to create terms that you can combine together. So looking at this one, I have a 10x and a negative 3x. Okay, remember, you're taking the sign in front. So I have a 10x and a negative 3x, which gives me 7x. And on that side, I still have the minus 12 equals 16. Notice, now I have a 2-step equation. So once you get to this step, if you liked the onion method, you could go ahead and build your onion. We'd circle the x. We would do 7 times, and then the minus 12, which means the outer layer, the first thing I would do would be to add 12 to both sides. So we would get 7x equals 28. Divide by 7, we should get x equals 4. So really, the only difference today is you may have to distribute, you may have to combine like terms. After that, it's just a 2-step equation. And actually, I think it's the easier type of 2-step equations that we've looked at. Okay? All right, this is getting glued into page 15 of your notebook. Make sure we fill out our table of contents. This is section 2.3, multi-step equations. All right, so remember, our steps, may not have to do all of them, okay, but the first thing, if you can distribute, you want to distribute. After you distribute, if you can, combine like terms, but you definitely want to combine like terms before you try to start solving, because by combining like terms, you're making the equations simpler, and I promise you it's going to make your life easier if you combine like terms before you try to solve. So, number 1, 18 plus 2 minus 6x equals 8. Alright, so I'm going to drag my equal sign down. Okay? Now, if I go through those steps, remember the first step is distribute. There's nothing to distribute here. There's no parentheses, okay? Next thing, if you can, we want to combine like terms. So what I'm looking for here is if there's anything that instead of leaving it as these 2 separate terms, I can put them together as 1 term. And I see this right here, the 18 plus 2, right? you can take 18 plus 2, right? 18 plus 2 is 20. And then minus 6x equals 8. Okay, if you do it in that order, usually after those two steps, you get a two-step equation, which is what I have here, which means if you like the onion method, you can circle your x, we would multiply, and then we would circle that 20. Now, this is one of the ones we talked about yesterday that you need to be super careful, because how do I get rid of that 20? Subtract, because that's a positive 20. I know that because there's not a negative sign in front of the 20. So I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. When I do that, the negative is still in front of there. It's a negative 6x. 8 minus 20 is a negative 12. And then how do I get rid of the negative 6? Divide, right? Because this is a multiplication problem. So the opposite of multiplying would be to divide. So we should end up with x equals 2. Okay, number 2. 9p minus 5 minus 4p equals 15. Okay, so we're going to drag that equal sign down. Okay, first thing, is there anything to distribute? Nothing to distribute. Okay, like terms. Do I have any like terms to combine? Okay, I do. Now remember, you can only combine like terms that have the same variable part. So what I can do here is I recognize, okay, I have a 9p and a minus 4p. I can combine those together. Okay, now here's the thing, guys, and this is so very important because I would say the most common mistake with solving equations comes from problems like this. That what I love is that students recognize, hey, 9p and a minus 4p, I can combine those together. But here's what I see, and don't copy this down because it's not right. Here's what I see, is I see students go like this, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And that's going to give me 13p minus 5 equals 15. What's the problem with that? Do what? You guys remember what this line was for? Yeah. I like the idea that we're wanting to combine our p's together, but you just added 4p to the same side, right? That line tells me that if I add 4p on the left side of the line, I need to add 4p to the right side of the line, and I don't want to do that because I don't want to move the 4p to the other side. These are already on the same side of the equation, guys. And if they're already on the same side of the equation, you're not moving it from one side to the next. You're just combining them together. It's like you've got 9p here and a negative 4p here. You're just putting them in the same pile. You take 9p minus 4p, which would be 5p. If they're on the same side, just combine them, okay? So you'd have 5p minus 5 equals 15. And then notice now we have a two-step equation. These are kind of the really predictable two-step equations, and you're going to run into these a lot today, that usually you're going to add or subtract first. So in this case, we're going to add 5, and we get 5p equals 20. And then to get rid of the 5, we would divide by 5. We should get p equals 4. Questions on the first two? Okay, number 3. 49 equals 7 times x minus 3. Okay, first thing, if you can, we want to distribute. Can we distribute on this one? Yes. Now remember, when we distribute, we are multiplying. So we're going to take 7 times x, which is just 7x. 7 times a minus 3 is going to be a minus 21. And then it's still going to be that equal 49 on the left-hand side. Now the biggest thing, guys, and this is so important, after you distribute, check. If there's anything that you can combine together, you want to do that now. In this case, there's nothing that I can combine together because this is a 7x and that's a 21. You cannot combine this together. So we're ready to solve. So if I add 21 to both sides, 49 plus 21 would give me 70. equals 7x. Divide both sides by 7, and we should get 10 equals x. Okay, number 4. If I have negative 39 equals negative 3 times 4x minus 5. So similar problem here, maybe one step harder. What's the first thing I should do? Distribute. Now, be careful here. What am I distributing? A negative 3. A negative 3, okay? So you have to take negative 3 times 4x, which is a negative 12x. Be careful here, because I have to take a negative 3 times, let's call that a negative 5. A minus 5, a negative 5, it's the same thing. So when I take a negative times a negative, what kind of sign is that? Positive. So that's going to be a plus 15. And on the left-hand side, we have negative 39. After you distribute, check to see if you can combine like terms. Is there anything I can combine here? No. So we're ready to solve. So to get rid of the plus 15, we would subtract 15, and I would get negative 54 equals negative 12x. Divide both sides by negative 12. Now for this one, this isn't going to divide out evenly. So a couple different ways you could write your answer. First of all, a negative divided by a negative. I know my answer is going to be positive. If you plug this in your calculator and you get a decimal that comes out evenly, like this one would. If you plug this in your calculator, you're going to get 4.5. I have no problem with a decimal if it's an exact answer. Now, if you plug something into your calculator and it gives you like a long repeating decimal, I don't want you to round that. Anytime you round an answer, it's no longer an exact answer, and we always want to give an exact answer whenever possible. So if that happens, if you plug it in your calculator and it gives you a long repeating decimal, you need to leave it as a fraction, and you may need to reduce it. So like for this one, 54 and 12, they both have a 6 in common. So if I divide it out of 6, we would get 9 over 2. For this case, since it's 4.5, exactly 4.5, I have no problem with the decimal there. We always want exact answers whenever possible. Okay? All right, number 5. Let's take it a step further here. X plus 12 times the quantity 3 minus x equals 58. Okay, what's my first step? Distribute. Now I'm distributing at 12. So this x stays the same. It's just going to stay an x, okay? 12 times 3, that's going to give me a plus 36. Now at 12 times a minus x, that's just going to give me a minus 12x. And it still equals 58. Okay, after we distribute, just get in the habit. Anytime you distribute, the next thing you should check, is there anything that I can combine together? Yeah, I've got this x and the negative 12x. Now guys, remember, they're on the same side already, right? The x and the negative 12x, they're already over here, okay? So you're just going to combine them together. If it helps, you can think about that x as a 1x. So you take 1x and a negative 12x, you get negative 11x, and then the plus 36 equals 58. Now it's a two-step equation, so I could subtract 36 from both sides. So we have negative 11x equals 22. Divide by negative 11. We should get x equals negative 2. Okay, number 6. A plus 4 times the quantity a minus 2 equals 12. Okay, what's the first step? Distribute. So we're going to distribute the 4. So we have a plus 4a. 4 times a minus 2 is going to give me a minus 8. What do I do after I distribute? combine like terms. A plus 4a, that would give me 5a minus 8 equals 12. And then finish out your two-step equation. Add 8 to both sides. 5a equals 20. Divide by 5, we should get a equals 4. Okay, the last two, I want you guys to try on your own. So I'll put them on the board. Take a couple minutes, work them out on your own, and then we will work them out together. So, number 7 says negative 16 equals negative 5a minus 4 plus a. And number 8 says 64 equals 8 times 3 minus 5m. All right, let's check these out, see how you guys did. So for number 7, first thing, there's nothing to distribute, but I do have some like terms. Now remember, these are on the same side, so you just combine them together. If it confuses you, if it's easier to write the 1 in front of it, I know sometimes it's easier to actually see that 1 there. You're going to take negative 5 plus 1, you get negative 4a minus 4, and then the negative 16 would drop down on the left side. We'd add 4 to both sides, so you get negative 12 equals negative 4a, and then divide by negative 4, we should get 3 equals a. Questions on 7. Okay, and number 8, what's the first thing we should do? Distribute. So we would have 24, 8 times a minus 5m would be a minus 40m equals 64. Is there anything to combine? No. Nope. So the first thing I need to get rid of is the 24. How do you get rid of the 24? Subtract 24 from both sides. Very good. So we have 40. Now remember, there's still a negative there, so it'd be a minus 40m. And then how do we get rid of the negative 40? Right. So divide, because this is multiplication, right? So divide by negative 40. You should get negative 1 equals m.